So Fulton Hogan is no different to anyone else in the industry, and Downers, we all work closely together, but we've injured people and we've killed people, and we're not proud of that. So at the end of the day, we said that's enough is enough. We need to do something. Let's go out and see what's best of the best globally. So I was one of the lucky ones that got sent over there, spent some time in the US and the UK. And some of the things I'll share with you is what we brought back to try and work with our business to improve what we have now. If we work our way through it, we've been to one of the key businesses in the UK, and they invested $300,000 in these fancy automatic devices that shut down machines. They had people who were wearing their PPE who had electronics built into them, and when the machine started to reverse back and got too close to that person, the machine shut down. They had devices that they could go along and hold and push buttons to stop the machine coming too close to them. That also worked quite well. The $300,000 they invested came back and said it was a waste of money. Their near-miss incidents tripled because the guys were relying on the electronics to stop the machine. So we took the thinking away from them. So that was one of the reasons why they pulled it out. They have reversing cameras, they have alarms, they have bleepers, they have beacons, they have everything that we have here in New Zealand, and yet they've moved away from all the electronics and gone back to that. What they've actually done is actually spent some time on their people and developed their people and working out there and giving the responsibility back to those guys and making them take a bit of ownership. Foreman and planning and housekeeping, they were key management tasks. Foreman responsibility. Over the last probably 10 years in New Zealand, I know what Fulton Hogan, with the way the Act has been going, we've been pulling that stuff away and giving it to our managers. You're the manager, you manage safety. That is wrong, we've decided. What we want to try and do there is take it back to the foreman and get them involved in a bit of ownership. They work together with their foreman and their people to actually work out what they're doing out in the field so they can have some ownership. Minimal vehicles on site. How often do we see building sites or construction sites around here and we have everything on one site? We've got a grader or an excavator. Let's have a roller just in case we need it, and we might need a walker bucket because we might get a bit of a dust problem for environmental. Traffic management is always set up before we get on site. That's what I noticed over there. People development, okay, safety training. Their foremen every 2 years have to go through a safety training course, and that's just to update them on what they do and what's changed. CTO, competency to operate. They've got that over there, but I think their programs are very well. We've set something up in Fulton Hogan as well. So we've got 4,500 employee operators that we're going to do a competency to operate on and have that completed by November this year. So we've invested $900,000 and put specialised people out there to do competency to operate. From that, we've found 10% of those operators need further training because they haven't met the standards. So you go into competency to operate, and all of a sudden you've got another can of worms over here going, well, shit, you've got 10% of your workforce actually needs to be retrained and re-qualified. So that's stage 2 of our competency program. UK have driver training awareness, they call it SED. So it's pretty much like our defensive driving courses over here. So again, that's something else that we're going to introduce into New Zealand. Red zone. No, Downers have already gone into that, so we're all on the bloody same page, just use different pictures. But again, in the UK, they have this training, and actually that's actually mapped out on one of their yards. So they plant the machine in there, so actually people can see the yellow, the red, and get an understanding of where the zones are. Plus, we do the same, shove them in the machine, and actually have a look. They do get a bit of a kick because they go on an excavator, and I've never driven one. You know, I go into it and think, holy hell, I didn't realise you couldn't see that. So that's that experience. And we've got all these young fellas coming through at the moment, you know, which are down here and growing up. They're the ones you've got to target for this sort of stuff as well. As grader, same sort of thing, where to stand, where to approach. Worksite in the UK, full PPE is worn over there as well as the US. What they have over there, they actually have field marshals. So you've got a guy in the left-hand corner which has got a blue barrier. He's responsible and will not allow anybody into that work site. So if they're doing some concrete laying through there and the concrete truck is due to be there at 1 o'clock and he arrives at 10, they'll actually go along and say, no, the plan was you arrive at 1. Either go away and come back at 1 o'clock, or you need to stay there and wait until we make the site safe. So how many times do we get that pressure put on our people? So that's how strict they are. When we drove up the site, we're in the vehicle there, we had to wait 25 minutes. And I'm with the CEO of that business, and he said, no, that's the rules. He has that authority. And when you go past a piece of plant, they do stop the machine. We put it into a safety mode, but we let it idle. Over there, they turn the machine off. Then you go past the machine. So that is something else that we'll bring into our business. They have issues over there, like they've got a guy there who's got a turban on his head. In the UK, they allow that. They allow them to work around excavators and things with turbans on. In the US, typical Americans, take the bloody thing off or you don't work for us, which I think is the right way to go. One rule for everybody. There's a intersection, there's a state highway, it's the M12, M5. They actually, for their barriers, they've got the barriers through there. It'll take up to 70 kilometres an hour on a truck. This one was actually doing 100 kilometres and went into it. And they'll do these sections and bolt that to the ground. And once they've done that there, they'll actually go on the night shift, move it along and bolt it to the ground again. So that helps protect the employees. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. This guy went straight through there and took out a couple of guys. A work site in the US, they've got 30 people working on the site and you can't see a damn person anywhere. And they only got one machine. This is where the housekeeping comes into it. If that was a New Zealand site, we'd have utes parked everywhere, we'd have rollers parked everywhere, and the poor old guy on the grader's got to go this way to work his way through it all. So that's what we say about housekeeping, and that's what certainly came up over in the States. Here's another work site. That's laying a 5-lane motorway through the US, all on concrete. Again, it's so clean, absolutely spotless. And people cared about their activity. You go and talk to a person up there and you say, why do you work for this business? I work for them to make them a profit, so I can actually get paid and to send my kids to university. That was their foreman talking to me like that. And when I go on site, when we did the US, sometimes I'll give you a group of people to talk to. And I said, yeah, no, I actually don't want to talk to those guys. I'll talk to the guy down the very end that's got half his teeth missing, and I'll ask him the question. And they were the sort of things we were getting back. We work for the business to make them a profit because I want to go home every day. That's the foreman's ute, 350 Chevy in that. We're not getting those in here, but that's what they drive in the States. But everything is all wrapped up, all clean and tidy. And you talk to the foreman, if I want to borrow your electric cord and I throw it back in, what will you do? Well, you won't be coming around my ute anymore, sort of thing. So that's the attitude that they've got. They care about the equipment, they care about their people. In the UK, they wear yellow, bright yellow. Yellow stands out. There's me in the orange down the end down there. Can hardly bloody see. And there I am, part of the hedge. So you talk to the guys out there and you say, why do you guys wear bloody yellow? Shit, what a terrible freaking colour. He says, why the hell do I want to look like a cone? Good answer. Why the hell do I look like a bloody berry? You thick. So they're the sort of guys you're talking to out there, and that's the honest answer you got. Yellow stands out. Unfortunately, we've got rules in New Zealand where we've got to meet NZTA compliance, which is fine. And they've got to be wet-proof and everything else to go with it. So we need to look at what we're doing. So we've actually brought some of these clothing back and we've been trialling yellow pants. And the guys have been saying, I'm not wearing this shit. I said, what do you want to wear that? And I says, well, what's your problem? He says, well, I'll stand out. You know, so that's the logic, because we've always worn orange. In the UK, they wear yellow on the road and they wear orange for the railway. So where we're going to go at Fulton Hogan is that we're going to put our people in yellow. We're going to do a bit more survey first to see, make sure yellow doesn't attract the heat and all that sort of stuff. And we've got to put the PPE that's fit for the people. It's all very well just putting a thing across, hard hats across everything. That's easy to manage, but is it right for our people? I wouldn't want to wear what these guys wear out there at 33 degrees. So we're importing a lot of fabric and we're doing a lot of work in that area. That's a workshop. Again, housekeeping, very clean. Haven't had a lost time injury in 20 years. I get a phone call when we're giving some guy a hernia when I was over in the States. And you could talk to these guys through there and says, well, why did he try and move the ute himself? Why didn't he get out and drive it or have someone help him? Simple stuff. There they go again. No, I'm standing out. Who the hell would want to wear that? It'd look totally different. There's a work site in the US. These guys build bridges. And I asked them, how'd you get rid of the old bridge? Typical Americans, I just blew the damn thing up. This is in Chicago the night before. And then we just dig it out and do it. We couldn't do that. We'd have environmental cannery on our ass. It's blowing up, mate. It's too late. So that's the thing. That's what they do over there. But again, it's housekeeping. You drive onto that site, there's 20 odd people there. And there's no vehicles moving around because they have plans, like down we're doing, where you park your vehicles and where you drive and where you can't drive. Cones, it's a big cone. I asked them, why have you got on bloody big cones like that? And the answer from the Americans again, well, this is in California, no one's going to drive over that, they'll damage the car. So they'll keep further away from it. Again, that's that barrier and we're keeping our people safe. Just simple stuff. Not very heavy, you can drag that along, no problem whatsoever, lift it out, and they actually got a rim of a truck tyre at the base of it to keep it in one place. And they actually go along and move the yellow line from there over to there, because Americans don't like change, so you've actually got to move the whole road over with the yellow cone and the yellow line. Would that work for us? Probably would. The amount of cones we've got floating around the place. So we have to look at our foremen, and we're going to give them a bit of ownership back. Position descriptions, how many foremen have a position description in any business? Probably not very many. So we move away from you shall and you will, from lead, help, support, teach and train. Responsibilities to develop our managers, and they've got to give them the reasons why we've got to do that. So why do we have to wear long pants and long sleeves? We'll give them the answer, but here's the correct gear to go with it. Developing foremen, and there take ownership, set expectations, retrain and develop and share them, and set up a national foreman safety program, which is what we're doing. So we're going to put them through from start to finish on communication, conflict, moving plant, how to set up a site. So actually when they walk out, they're actually like an apprenticeship program, so they actually get a certificate when they go. Now if they don't use it for Fulton Hogan, they can use it for Downers, City Cares and set up their own businesses, still preventing people from being hurt. So that's their development program for that. And the feedback from the foremen are, thank Christ we're getting something. Because how often do we put a foreman in place, because he's the only one left, and we give him a pay increase and we don't give him the skills to go with it. Doesn't work. So we're looking at yellow, and we're probably going to move into yellow through there. And if you go on the road, then you put a high vis on, and we'll also develop some more shirts that'll meet NZTA compliance. We've got so many fabrics that we can play with. Leaving NZTA compliance to the side, we can go along and put people in yellow for our quarries, land development, yards and all that sort of thing. So there's so much more fabric out there. Some of these guys in the UK wear Nike stuff. So let's import some of that fabric and try and get something made up. Foreman will take more ownership, supervision, safety is marked to staff a higher in performance, getting them involved all the time. How often again are our foremen in any industry, the manager goes along and prices up a job and says, here Bob, here's your equipment, here's your people, and you've actually got 4 days. I actually priced it up for 5, but I'm going to bank that and make a bit of profit. So we're putting pressure onto them straight away. We need them involved to say how much I'm going to make, how much I'm going to earn, and how much people do I need. The grey-headed boys out there, they're our professionals. They know the business. They know what they need. We get a heap of graduates coming through, and the first thing I go along and say to them is, if you listen to the grey-haired old bugger, because he'll make you or he'll break you. They're the guys we've got to focus on and get the information. So how do we measure this? Any business will want to know before you invest anything in there, how the hell are we going to measure this? It'll improve the stats, no worries there whatsoever. The survey results will have less absenteeism, because people actually might want to come to work, enjoy work. That'd be bloody great, wouldn't it? Improve our quality, lower staff turnover. Some businesses I hear have 10 to 15% staff turnover. You've got to ask the question, why is that? Why do we leave? Department manager more confident, so we can take a bit more responsibility from them and give it to our foreman and get them involved with that. Foremen become more confident, managers and engineers and foremen working together. See, I've got bigger profits down the bottom. We've got businesses that want to make profit first. Well, you've got to make profit and we've got to pay our people, but then let's turn it upside down there, because we're making money and we're making profit. Let's put the people at the top and lead a better business overall, which will bring up a culture of safety, of ownership, and that's where we're moving to, is the ownership sort of things. How many times do a foreman, a guy, we've trained him on first aid, and they come back and they think, Christ, you're back, get in the bloody digger. What we want our guys to come back and say, what'd you learn at safety? What'd you learn at the first aid? Do you think it'd be of value at home? Do you think it might help one of your family members if something happens? Great, I'm glad you learned something. Let's get in the digger and let's start the work process. Big change, eh? It's going to take us 5 years. That's the target we've set, to get this up and running. And we do put out a lot of stuff as well. We have safety essentials that we give out to our guys. Bit of simple stuff, again, pictures, crosses, ticks, so they know what we're looking at. I've got a manager out there that is as keen as mustard and try to put all these out 50 and 60 at a time. Shit, hold the fort. These guys, they've got work to do. Just dribble it out. Give them time to digest it and work their way through it. So their housekeeping. Do we need all this stuff on our sites? Let's manage our sites better and give the ownership back to our people. I think it'll work together and we'll achieve something. Thanks.